What is that one important aspect while we study the municipal law, that is constitution of that particular country? And while studying a constitution, we study in detail the fundamental rights of the citizens of the state. Now that is one of the most important aspect as far as municipal law is concerned. Likewise, when it comes to public international law, one of the most important subject that we need to study is states, and in that we need to study in detail the rights and duties of the states. Hey guys, welcome to my legal classes. This is Ganesh Pujari, and in my today's class I am going to discuss 5 important rights of the states and 5 important duties of the states. With these 10 aspects I am almost covering this entire subject, and let's get into my first slide. It is said that the primary concern of international law is the rights and duties of the states. If it is so important, then we need to remember 3 important attempts which were made towards the right of states or duties of the states. Now, the first attempt to define them was the Montevideo Convention of 1933 on the rights and duties of the states. The same was followed by the preparation of the International Law Commission of the United Nations, the Draft Declaration on the Rights and Duties of the States of 1949, and then Declaration on Principle of International Law concerning friendly relations and cooperation among states in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations was entitled by the adoption of the General Assembly of the United Nations, the Resolution 2625 of 1970. These are the 3 important aspects you need to remember while writing the introduction part for the rights and duties of the states. When it comes to rights, the first and foremost right of any state is the right of independence. And where is the term independence defined? It is defined by the Draft Declaration on the Rights and Duties of State of 1949, and it said independence means capacity of a state to provide for its own well-being and development and free from the domination of other states. Now, if a state has independence, it can take any steps for its own well-being like punishing for crimes, etc., and it is free from domination by others, and it has exclusive control over its domestic affairs, and finally it has all right over territorial integrity. These are the important aspects you need to remember when it comes to the right of independence. The second right is the right of sovereignty. When we are discussing sovereignty, there can be 2 types of sovereignties, like the territorial sovereignty and the other sovereignty. Territorial sovereignty is nothing but having an absolute authority over its territory, whereas other sovereignty is the capacity of a state to enter into relation with other states, like sending and receiving diplomats or engaging them in treaty making or enjoying certain immunities. Now, these are the important aspects which are covered under second right. However, in the current scenario, the sovereignty is not absolute. There are certain conditions involved because the peace and order of the international community is very important. So there can be certain restrictions also, which we are going to study when we are studying the duties. The third right, that is the right of territorial jurisdiction, is quite similar to the second right, that is the right of sovereignty. Here the state has absolute authority on the land space of its, and then it has exclusive authority over the people, that is individuals of that particular space, and it has all power on the natural resources like land, water, space, whatsoever applicable to it, and it can implement any kind of law, or it can punish for the breach of law in its jurisdiction, and it can control over all the events within its jurisdiction. These are the few important territorial jurisdiction which a state has in the form of rights. The fourth right is the right of sovereign equality, which discusses about equal members of being international community and participate with the international community and having equal rights and duties and equality with regards to social, economical and political opportunities. The last right is the right of self-defense, and I have made 5 important statements here, and they are all very important. The first being, this right is recognized by customary international law. Self-defense is one of the customary international law, and Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations also recognizes this right as the right of the state. but there is one important limitation, that is this right can be exercised by a state only when armed attacks were made against it. It is self-defense. That is one important aspect you need to remember. Only there is an attack, they can utilize this right as a self-defense, and Security Council will take necessary measures to maintain international peace and security, and war should be the last option after considering all peaceful procedures. This is 5 important statements you need to remember while writing on the right of self-defense. While we are discussing about citizens, the rights are most important, whereas while discussing about state in public international law, the duties are very important, because the very base of international law is to maintain peace and order. So if anybody is non-complying with the duties that they have to manage, then they are considered as the violators of international law. That is one important aspect you need to mention while giving introduction to the duties of states. The first and foremost important duty when it comes to the duties of the states is the duty to refrain from the threat or use of force. Now, when it comes to use of force, if it is used for self-defense, then it is okay. But if it is used for threatening others, it is absolutely not okay. And state should not involve in any kind of propaganda of wars, or state should not get involved in any kind of aggression, or state should not interfere with the other's territorial integrity or political independence, and state should not enter to other state with the forces that they are having, or states should not try incursion of the other's territory, and finally state should not deprive others' right of freedom and independence. These are the few important aspects you need to remember when it comes to use of threat or force against others. The second duty is the duty to settle international dispute by peaceful means. Every state should use force only as a last measure of self-defense, and before using force, they need to ensure that they have tried all peaceful means to avoid any kind of war in any states. Now, the Charter of the United Nations, Chapter 6, provides the machinery for the fulfillment of the duty by the states. So, that is one important aspect you need to remember. The third duty is the duty not to intervene in the affairs of the other states. Now, no state shall interfere in the political, economical, and cultural elements of the other state, and not to threaten the rights to enjoy state right by using military, and not to intervene directly or indirectly in the internal affairs of the state. Just like fundamental rights enjoyed by a citizen, while enjoying, he should not disturb others in enjoying their fundamental rights. The state shall also have the duty that while enjoying their rights, they should not try interfere with the rights of the others. That is all about the third duty. The fourth duty is the duty to cooperate. Now, all the states need to be in alignment to the Charter of the United Nations, and they need to cooperate each other in the fields like freedom, human rights, peace and security, or maybe in the fields like economics, politics, social, cultural, educational, science, and many other matters, and there should be maximum cooperation should available between the states. The last duty is the duty of a state to fulfill its obligation in good faith. Now, international law completely depends upon how the states are obliged towards the international laws. It is the respect that states are giving to the international law. So, all the states should oblige to the fulfillment of international treaties, and they have duty to fulfill the obligation accepted under the Charter of the United Nations, and they should avoid taking unreasonable advantage, and finally they should respect the international customs. These are the few very important duties in fulfilling the obligations in good faith. With that, I am concluding this particular video. Thank you so much for subscribing me. Please like, share and comment my videos. All the very best for whatsoever purpose you are watching me. I will come up with one another important aspect in my next class. Thanks again.